Our nation's veterans have earned their benefits through honorable service and sacrifices made in uniform. However, a recent story from the Washington Post denigrates the service of all veterans by claiming they are swamping the VA with false, fraudulent, and dubious disability claims for injuries and illnesses that are not legitimate. As evidence, they point to the large number of veterans awarded disability compensation in recent years and a small number of outrageous frauds committed by a relative handful of individuals, some who are not even veterans. However, the rising number of veterans receiving disability compensation isn't a story about widespread abuse or fraud by veterans. It's a story about our nation finally keeping its promise. In fact, the recent increase in claims cited by the Post is driven primarily by the PACT Act, bipartisan legislation that finally acknowledged that toxic exposures such as Agent Orange and burn pits cause cancer and other serious diseases. Those conclusions were not made up out of thin air by veterans. They're based on the findings of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. While the Post story focuses only on whether a disabled veteran can hold a full-time job, what they fail to understand is how service-connected injuries and illnesses can impact the entirety of a veteran's life, and in many cases even shorten it. Not to mention the toll that service-connected disabilities take on their families, caregivers, and survivors. We certainly condemn any fraud and believe any criminal acts must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But beyond these rare instances, the 6.9 million disabled veterans' claims for benefits represent 6.9 million sacrifices made in uniform. They are completely legitimate, based on laws, regulations, and the presentation of sufficient evidence of the negative impact of service-related injuries and illnesses. Caring for our veterans is part of the cost of defending our nation and our freedom. The Washington Post should understand that. Beyond this shameful slur on the integrity of our nation's veterans, our foremost concern is ensuring veterans get the benefits they've earned, which are challenging enough to access. Unfortunately, broad brush attacks on veterans, like this one by the Post, often discourage some veterans from seeking the care and benefits they've earned, impacting their ability to provide for themselves and their families. So, if you're a veteran and you have questions or need help with your VA benefits, you can contact DAV to get answers and free assistance. You can find the nearest DAV service office at benefitsquestions.org.